Have you ever wondered what it takes to save a life? Not just any life, but one that can't speak, can't ask for help, and has been abandoned by the world? This is the story of Orion, a chestnut horse who was on the brink of death, and the woman who refused to let him fade away. The sun was dipping low over the highlands, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose. The air was cool, tinged with the scent of dust and dry grass. Among the scattered rocks and scrub, a horse lay curled on the ground, its chestnut coat marred with circular sores. Its sides rose and fell shallowly, every breath a struggle. For days, perhaps weeks, this horse had endured hunger, thirst, and pain. Once proud and strong, it had now become little more than skin stretched over bone. Its eyes, once bright and fiery, were dull with exhaustion, yet somewhere deep inside still flickered the spark of life. Miles away, a young woman named Clara Reynolds was making her usual patrol across the wildlife reserve. Clara worked with an animal rescue unit that monitored abandoned livestock and strays along the mountain ranges. She had seen many animals in poor condition before, but something about this day tugged at her instincts. As she guided her jeep along a narrow trail, she caught sight of a figure against the rocks. At first she thought it was a deer resting. But as she drew closer, her heart clenched. It was a horse, lying motionless, covered in scars. Clara stopped the jeep, her pulse racing. "Easy, boy. I'm here now," she whispered, stepping down quietly. The horse lifted its head weakly, ears twitching at the sound of her voice. Its eyes met hers, full of both pain and silent pleading. Clara's throat tightened. She crouched a few feet away, speaking softly so as not to startle it. "You're not alone anymore, I promise." The horse tried to rise, but its legs trembled and gave way. Clara immediately moved forward, laying her hand gently on its neck. The heat radiating from its body spoke of fever. She could feel the crusted wounds beneath her fingertips. The sight was nearly unbearable, but she forced herself to stay calm. She radioed her team for help, giving them the coordinates. Within 30 minutes, 2 other rescuers arrived with a trailer and supplies. Together, they carefully lifted the weakened horse with a sling, soothing it with quiet voices. Every whinny, every shiver, tore at Clara's heart. Back at the sanctuary, the horse was placed in a clean stall lined with fresh hay. A veterinarian named Dr. Harris began examining him immediately. "He's severely dehydrated, malnourished, and those sores look like untreated infections," the doctor said gravely. "But he still has strength in him. If we act quickly, he has a chance." Clara stayed by the horse's side the entire night. She prepared buckets of water, coaxing him to drink small sips. She stroked his mane, whispering gentle words. The horse trembled but did not shy away. When Dr. Harris applied herbal ointments to the wounds, the horse winced. Yet Clara's presence seemed to calm him. She decided to name him Orion, after the constellation she often looked up at during long nights in the reserve. To her, the horse was like a fallen star, battered, nearly extinguished, but still glowing faintly with life. The first few days were the hardest. Orion refused food at first, too weak to chew. Clara mixed oats with warm water, spoon-feeding him patiently until he began to eat on his own. She changed his bandages daily, cleaned the sores with a gentle touch, and sang softly as she worked. At night, she laid a blanket over his body and sat in the corner of the stall, listening to his breathing to make sure it didn't falter. There were moments when Orion seemed to give up, collapsing heavily on the straw, eyes closing as if surrendering to darkness. But each time, Clara was there lifting his head, urging him to fight, her voice steady, even when tears threatened to fall. "Stay with me, Orion. You've come this far. Don't stop now." On the 5th day, something remarkable happened. Orion, still unsteady, pushed himself to his feet without help. His legs shook, but he stood. Clara gasped, rushing forward to steady him. For the first time, she saw a spark in his eyes, weak, but undeniably there. From then on, Orion improved steadily. His appetite returned, his wounds began to heal, and his coat slowly regained its luster. Clara spent hours walking him around the paddock, letting the sun warm his body and the breeze carry away the memory of suffering. Each day his steps grew firmer, his spirit brighter. Weeks passed and Orion transformed before everyone's eyes. The scars on his body remained, but they no longer defined him. His muscles grew strong again, his eyes shone with vitality, and his gentle whinny, whenever Clara approached, became the sweetest music to her ears. But their bond was more than caretaker and animal. Clara realized Orion had saved her as much as she had saved him. She'd always felt a quiet emptiness in her life, a longing for connection deeper than words. Orion filled that void. When she stroked his mane, when he nuzzled her shoulder, she felt understood in a way no human conversation could provide. One evening, under a sky blazing with stars, Clara leaned against the fence as Orion grazed peacefully nearby. She whispered, "You were meant to die out there. But fate led me to you. And now, you're my family." Orion lifted his head, his ears pricking as if he understood. He walked to her side, pressing his forehead gently against her chest. Clara closed her eyes, overwhelmed with gratitude. Months later, the sanctuary arranged a public event to share Orion's story. Visitors gathered to see the once broken horse now standing tall, his coat shining in the sunlight. Clara led him into the arena, her heart pounding with pride. She spoke of the day she found him, of the battles he fought to survive, and of the bond they had formed. Tears filled the eyes of many in the audience. Orion, sensing the emotion, let out a deep, steady neigh that echoed through the field. It was not a cry of pain, but of triumph. The crowd erupted in applause, but Clara barely noticed. She was focused only on Orion, her partner, her miracle. Though the sanctuary had initially planned to rehabilitate Orion and release him to a new home, it became clear that he and Clara could not be separated. The directors agreed Orion would remain under Clara's care, not as a project, but as a permanent companion. Years rolled by. Orion grew older, but his spirit never dimmed. He and Clara explored the hills together, shared countless sunsets, and weathered storms side by side. Each scar on his body told a story, but none spoke louder than the bond he had with the woman who refused to give up on him. One particularly quiet night, Clara sat on the porch of her cabin, watching Orion graze in the moonlight. She thought back to that first moment she had seen him lying helpless among the rocks. Her chest ached at the memory, but it was softened by the knowledge of all that had followed. Orion lifted his head, sensing her gaze, and walked slowly to her side. She placed her hand on his neck, whispering, "You taught me what it means to fight for life. You reminded me that love can heal even the deepest wounds." Orion nuzzled her gently, his warm breath brushing against her skin. In that moment, beneath the silent stars, Clara knew with absolute certainty, though she had saved Orion. It was truly Orion who had given her the greater gift, the lesson that compassion, persistence, and love could turn despair into hope and brokenness into beauty.